Yes, I'm back. And even today, Swamiji was telling me some time back, I don't think you can talk today. You are not looking all right, and your voice, you are coughing at times. But I thought that I will definitely try, because I am not laid up. So I'm back, and I'm very happy to be back. I was hearing what Namrata was saying, and I think she gave a very good, very precise, very apt and exact summary of what I have been discussing about the gunas, the Rajoguna and the Tamoguna, which always make us very agitated, active, sometimes dull, and sometimes lethargic, procrastinating. And because of that, the mind is never restful. And we all know that unless the mind is peaceful, restful, the self does not get revealed to us. And that is where I stopped in the previous session. I have taken 2 slokas from Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, where it says how the Tamoguna and the Rajoguna, they create these difficulties in our mind and intelligence, and as a result, although the self is there and it is just within the grasp, it does not get revealed. And then it says that what we should do is Tato mukshur bhava bandha mukyai rajastamobhyam cha tadiya karyaihi viyojya chittam parishuddha sattvam priyam prayatnena sadaiva kuryat. I'll come to this and then we will see what I talk today. Before that, I will chant the Guru Stotras with which I generally start my talks. Swamin Namaste Nataloka Bandho Karunya Sindho Patitam Bhavabdho Mamuddharatmiya Kataksha Drishtya Rijvyati Karunya Sudhabhibristya. Swamin Namaste, Swamin Namaste, Swamin Namaste, Swamin Namaste. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. Actually, my sickness came very, very suddenly. And I became quite sick. I had no inkling till I took my dinner that I am going to have such high fever and all that, and then whatever followed. But as I was sick and I had to take rest, and even though after some days I was feeling I'm quite all right, but I was still suggested to take rest. So this rest, after a long time, it was quite welcoming, and I had a lot of time to think. So I had been thinking, especially last few days when I was feeling that I'll be able to come and talk live. I was thinking about what I thought. I thought quite much about what I have been taking with all of you. I've been always saying that I'm not a scholar, I'm not a speaker also. What I can speak is only of my experiences. Because from the time I had stepped onto this path of spirituality, I have considered myself as a seeker. If I look back, I feel that that was the most important thing in my life. And that was the supreme thing in my life. That identity. That now I'm not only a human being, a female body, but my identity is, I've come to know that there is a path like this and I have stepped onto it and I will tread this path. So always I have been thinking, apart from whatever we read, the Shastras are there, vast knowledge, so many things to learn, understand, realize, feel, experience. Apart from that, what exactly we should do day to day, moment to moment, so that this identity that I have felt always is in front of my perception in everything. So when I was thinking, whatever I have taken as in all these so many talks actually, and I felt I was discussing the effect of Rajoguna and Tamoguna, not the effect, the bad effect, the disturbing effect, the distracting effect of Rajoguna and Tamoguna for a seeker, and how everywhere it says that Sattvaguna has to be developed. In that also I was thinking, are these becoming very textual? When we read these things, do we really understand when we get up in the morning and we get into activities? Maybe we spend some time in worship, in meditation, in some spiritual practices, some chanting, reading, etc., or contemplating. And our profession, our day-to-day activities and day-to-day chores, are we able to apply this and feel that I am the self? How do we do it? I think in all my lectures, somehow or other, I have tried to discuss this. So when today, in fact from yesterday when I was thinking what I will take, and even now my body is not very good. I'm weak, and what happened after my hemorrhage with my head, I'm feeling that, not able to read much, go through a lot of writings and think. The head becomes heavy. So I was thinking how to take the class. Now I have to go through new slokas, read them. These are not ones which I by-hearted earlier days. I have to read them. And at that time, I just thought this. I will read to you from Prabhata Rashmi what Swamiji says about how we can always be in the thought of the self. What is this Prabhata Rashmi? We have here every day a program called Pushpa Samarpanam, where Swamiji's seat is beautifully kept. All the devotees, ashramites, everybody comes and we stand here. We pluck flowers from the garden with a devotional feeling, clean the flowers, and amidst the chanting of Guru Stotras, I give flower petals to everybody, one by one, and each one of us we offered the petals at Pujya Swamiji's holy feet. After it is over, Pujya Swamiji closes his eyes and talks to us for 10 minutes, 15 minutes on some subject or other. When we started this program, I think it was 1995 December, in the initial years, Swamiji has spoken a lot about sadhana. Why I thought about this is that as I have been thinking and getting ready with all my difficulties for today's class, I was thinking very seriously. While listening to lectures, reading continuously because there are YouTubes now, listening over and over again. So listening, reading, contemplating, by-hearting some shlokas, do they remain separate from the seeker or it becomes a sadhana? While I was thinking like this, what happened is this. Swamiji was at his breakfast table and he was telling, one shloka which Swamiji is saying about his earlier days when he did his sadhana. He said that whatever he chanted, he says always this: if I read something, I read for understanding. I understand to realize, and I realize to display. About the shlokas, Swamiji says, whatever I chant to understand, and I chant to become after understanding. So he was talking about a shloka. Nastha dharmena vasuniche naiva kamopabhoge yadbhavyam tadbhavatu bhagavan purva karma anurupam. Yetat prarthyam mama bahumatam janma janmantarepi tvat padam bhoruha yugagata nischala bhaktirastu. It means this: the devotee is calling out to God. Nastha dharmena vasuniche. I have no faith in all the dharmas, all the injunctions of the Vedas, you can say. All that is told to us that we have to do this or do that. Nastha dharmena vasunichaye naiva kamopabhoge. He says that I have no attraction in this world, and all that is there for enjoyment in this world, I am not interested in enjoyment. Nastha dharmena vasunichaye naiva kamopabhoge yad bhavyam tad bhavatu bhagavan purva karma anurupam. So I am not interested in these things. Generally everybody is interested. Everybody is interested to lead a very righteous life according to the injunctions of our Shastras. So he says, this devotee says that I am not interested in that. I am not interested in anything in this world, all the enjoyments. Let whatever is destined for me, according to my previous birth and previous karma, let that happen. I will be following that. But he says, Yetat prarthyam mama bahumatam janma janmantarepi. But he has a prayer. He says, I don't want any wealth, property, prosperity, name, fame, recognition, comfort, luxury, education, scholarliness, nothing I want. Let my life be led as it is. But I have a prayer. What is that? That for life after life, Tvad padambhoruha yugagata nischala bhaktirastu. May I have nischala bhakti, unflickering, unwavering bhakti at your holy feet always. This is what the devotee says. So one of the days, Swamiji was at his breakfast table saying, how many times I have chanted this? How many times? And it has not been just a chanting. I have felt each and every word and I have become that. It was true of me. And he was asking, do you all chant like that? Anything you chant should become true of you. I want to tell you this. This is sadhana. See, we are getting so much of opportunity these days. As I always say, in our days, in our times, we had no opportunity to listen like this as you have or watch something. We were only reading books. We did not have opportunity to go and meet Mahatmas because travel was also not so common. But these days it is. But with all this, whatever we are getting exposed to, we must value it and make it our own. We should become that. As this devotee is saying, let me have unwavering bhakti at your holy lotus feet. What is this unwavering bhakti? Then the question comes. I should not be chanting only saying that Nischala Bhakti Rastu. Day after day, we should not be chanting like this. He was asking those who were serving breakfast, he was asking the brahmacharinis. We told him that Swamiji, this is in our evening prayers. This shloka is included. So Swamiji said, do you chant? Do you chant in the manner in which I am saying? Or you just chant every day? Because it is in the prayer, so you go and chant. That is what I want to tell you, my dear children. This is what, when we are in the Guru Sannidhi, he will be telling us again and again. And today, in the Prabhat Rashmi, today he told everybody the same thing. So, I want to tell you some things which in Prabhat Rashmi, in earlier days, it is in the first volume of Prabhat Rashmi, those of you who have, you can read them. I read them several times. He has, when he started the Prabhat Rashmi, he started talking. At that time, definitely, we have heard him. But these jewels, these have to be not only listened to, not only read. It gives so much of enlightenment every moment. Every moment becomes a sadhana. The sadhana is not for a little while. Sadhana is not only in the morning for some time, or when we are meditating at that time, or when we are chanting at that time. Sadhana has to be every moment. Every moment one must feel that I am a seeker. And whatever I am doing, whether I am sitting, walking, eating, talking, working, in everything I must be connected to my real identity, the self. To be doing that, to remember that is sadhana. So, instead of going ahead with how to develop this sattva guna, what it exactly means, what our scriptures say, I will definitely take up those. But I thought, going through this Prabhat Rashmi, where Swamiji has told in his own words how a sadhaka should look at this sadhana. So, I will take up some portions, and I am sure You will be happy to read them or listen now and later on, read and contemplate. Swamiji is saying, all of you have in common the aspiration and love for spiritual life. Is it not? I am asking you. I think to all of you, those who are there virtually listening, and some are here listening, I think all of us are interested in seeking, and each is a seeker. So Swamiji continues saying, all of you have in common the aspiration and love for spiritual life. Reading this, it is just not a reading, my dear children. You have to also assess, do you have aspiration? Do you have love? And what is this aspiration and love compared to the love that you have and the aspiration that you have in your worldly life, in your family life, in your ashram life? Is this love and aspiration for spirituality, the spiritual attainment? Have you kept it to be supreme? Or at least you feel that it should be kept supreme? One line I have read. So much of introspection can be done just by one line. So you have to assess, and one has to be true to oneself. Am I having love, more of yearning for worldly desires? To my children, my family, my house, my savings, my power, my fame, my recognition? Do I have more of interest in for them, or I give spirituality, the spiritual aim, the supreme position? You all are seekers, but one thing I have noticed in almost all seekers is that they lack the awareness of being a seeker. I think you should read this book, all of you. Those who do not have, please get from the ashram and you should read. This whole first volume is very, very sadhana oriented. All other volumes also, but particularly this one, I would say. So what he is saying, Swamiji is saying, I have noticed in almost all seekers is that they lack the awareness of being a seeker. My dear children, that is why we must feel that this is my identity. I am a seeker. You may be a daughter, you may be a wife, you may be a mother or a brother, a husband, a son, anything, a neighbor. Our first identity, once we have tread this path and we have interest in this path, we must feel that I am a seeker first and then everything else. Once we have that, you will find that everything you do, it will become associated with seeking. It cannot be but anything else. Everything we do will become associated with seeking and sadhana. The emphasis that oneself is a seeker is not there, Swamiji says. One must have a very clear evaluation of what is meant by spiritual life and seeking. This is what I told you, that when I thought that after this sickness I'll start again, all that I had a great leisure of thinking, quite a lot. I was thinking, this will be very interesting. What really do we mean by seeking? One must have a very clear evaluation of what is meant by spiritual life and seeking. What is it that you are seeking? What is meant by spiritual pursuit? What are its merits, and to where is it expected to lead you? We must know this very clearly. Then only we can go ahead. Say, suppose I just go without any aim. I don't know where I am going, what I have to do, nothing. So will anything be achieved? So what is meant by spiritual pursuit? What exactly I am seeking? What is this spiritual life? All these have to be understood properly. All these thoughts and inquiries must engage your mind and intelligence to give you a proper evaluation and understanding of your pursuit. In religion, the emphasis is on external God, but in spirituality, the whole focus shifts from outside to inside. You have to purify and integrate your body, mind, and intelligence to realize that everything is God or Brahman. My dear children, whatever we have been discussing about self, non-self, about nitya yuktata, about constantly remaining anchored in Brahman or self, and then about these gunas, how they distract us. So what is this spirituality for? We have to integrate the mind, intelligence and everything and understand that. Not only understand, realize that everything is God or Brahman. The fulfillment of your pursuit lies in that realization, in perceiving the one presence and reality in the apparently plural world. So the world is plural. That is what we are constantly experiencing. Wherever we look at, everything is different. We find it is different. We forget that this is the expression of the one self or Brahman. When we are interacting in this world, we forget that. But what is this seeking and what is this pursuit? We have to integrate all, absolutely take away this divisiveness, the Bheda Buddhi, and in all the plurality, we must find the one, the Brahman, the self. So what does become the seeking? What is the sadhana? How will it become? Because our day-to-day life is, as we get up, we are active. Through all our action, all our interaction, all our thoughts, we must find out that there is only one Brahman, and that itself expresses in this plurality. Our personality is to be disciplined in two respects. So, we have to have a discipline in receiving as well as in expressing, in taking in as well as in giving out. Whatever you see with the eye, hear with the ears, whatever you touch, smell, taste, eat or drink, in all a process of drink is all a process of reception. So, as we get up, when we are awake in this world, we are perceiving with all our senses and we are receiving. In all this, one has to become sublime and disciplined. That is, what does it mean? That is, we are seeing, we are hearing, we are touching, we are talking, we may be sitting, going, walking. In everything, we will have to become sublime. What does it mean? It means that Rajoguna and that Tamoguna should go. If it is not there, if the sublimity is not there, we must cultivate. We should become gentle, we should become attentive, We should become sharp. We should make everything that we perceive through our senses sublime and divine. In all this, one has to become sublime and disciplined. That is why we say, wear sattvic dress, eat sattvic food, hear good words. The discipline is to be attentive and selective about whatever inputs are received by your system from the external world. Taking food is an essential and common activity for all. To discipline this intake, we first of all select the materials and the way of cooking in order to have a sattvic influence on our body and mind. Moreover, to sublimate and divinize this intake, we chant the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and some other mantras before taking food. So, to become sattvic, to increase sattva guna, what Swamiji is saying, have some discipline. All the senses, whatever they are perceiving, let them be sattvic. And then he comes to food. Food also, whatever food we take, we should be taking sattvic food. Food, when we are not preparing the food with a good mind, maybe the mind is restless, mind is grumbling, mind is with some dislike or hatred or criticizing somebody, maybe sorrowful, the food becomes asattvic, tamasic, rajasic. So, the preparation of food also, one must prepare the food. Right from cutting, chopping and cooking the food, the mind should have sattvic feelings. Then only the food will become sattvic, and when the food is taken, it will have sattvic effects in the body. Many of you know, those who have not come to the ashram, I'll tell. In our ashram we have a program called Bhojana Pavitrikaranam. What is that? Bhojana is eating, food. And we are eating food after cooking mostly. When we cook, various kinds of impurities can come into the food. One is the place where we are cooking. Maybe the vessels are not clean. The place where we are cooking, that is not clean. We are not attentive, or we are in a hurry, we have not cleaned it properly. The materials with which we cook, sometimes with inattention, the materials may be not properly cleaned. Sometimes maybe even if you have cut properly, a portion, a little rotten portion has remained, or unclean portion has remained. So, the place of cooking and the materials with which we cook, even the vessels in which we cook, may be sometimes not very clean and pure. Because of what? Because of our inattention. And which is another defect of the mind, our own minds. Apart from that, when we cook, always our mind is not in a good frame, as just now I said. Mind may not be happy, mind may be sorrowful, or it may be blaming somebody, grumbling about something, or criticizing, fault finding. So many things may happen. All these bhavas enter the food. And those who are in very, very sattvic states, they can look at the food and say whether the food is pure or not. So, if the food is not cooked with a pure mind, a sattvic mind, the food becomes asattvika. It's not pure. And eating that food will only bring in impurity to the body, mind and intelligence. Because the growth of the body-mind complex is directly associated with the food. So in our ashram, this is done every day. We bring the food to Pujya Swamiji. Every item is brought to him in a vessel, in small vessels. All the small vessels in a big vessel. Very devotionally we bring to him. We chant some shlokas. Swamiji takes the vessel containing all items, looks at them, closes his eyes, purifies the food by his glance first, and then closes his eyes, and he has a sankalpa that this purified food, whoever takes, will grow bodily, mentally, intelligentially, and spiritually. So with his glance, Pujya Swamiji blesses the food, purifies it, and he has a sankalpa. After that, that vessel is taken to the kitchen, and each blessed item is mixed in the respective container where the main item is there, main quantity is there. It will be stirred well so that the whole food becomes purified, and then it is served as prasada. Bhojana Pavitrikaranam, it is called. Pavitrikaranam is purifying. Bhojana is the food items, purifying the food. Why did I tell you this whole thing? What is Swamiji writing? Swamiji is saying, taking food is an essential and common activity for all. To discipline this intake, we first of all select the materials and the way of cooking in order to have a sattvic influence on our body and mind. Moreover, to sublimate and divinize the intake, we chant the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and some other mantras before taking food. By this discipline, we tune our mind and body to receive only that which will be conducive to our spiritual growth. I am reading this, and I told you about the Bhojana Pavitrikaranam. And Swamiji has mentioned that we chant the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Also some other mantras. That is, when the food is served also, we are chanting some mantras and shlokas to purify the whole eating process. That is, we are spiritualizing the whole act of I think my voice is giving a lot of trouble. The whole act of serving and eating is being spiritualized. My dear children, each one of you, if you have read this, if you have been present in the ashram to witness this, and those of you who are just now listening for the first time about this, if you are a real seeker and you want to become a seeker, you feel that your identity should be of that seeker, I think immediately you should try doing this in your house also. There Swamiji is not there. Maybe you can keep his photo or any other deity or whomsoever you want to. You can not have any photo or image or anything. Mentally you can offer it to God. And while eating food, you can chant this 15th chapter and the other shlokas which we do. It is there in our book. And divinize and spiritualize This simple act of eating, cooking and eating every day in your own house. This is how the Sattva-guna has to be developed. This is how. This is what I say again and again. All this is not only to listen, not only to hear and feel very happy, to be in touch with some divine words for some time. Make it yours. Make it yours. Some people really do it. We know some devotees who have come to the ashram, not very close also. They go back and say that we are doing this in our house. And how sublime we feel. But as Swamiji says, that nastha dharmena vasunichaye, you are chanting every day in the prayer. Are you chanting only for the sake of chanting, or you have made it your own? Even all these small rituals, initially we start it to become sattvic and more sattvic, but we should never allow it to be just a routine, just a ritual, just a mechanical thing. Every day when we do an offering of food to God or the Guru, every day we should feel, while cooking food, while offering it to God, while eating that prasad, that we are becoming pure and pure. Now, the manner in which you express yourself has also to be thoroughly spiritualized. That is, now he is talking about. This is what Swamiji is closing his eyes and telling this to the devotees who are in front of him after the Pushpa Samarpanam. He is telling them as Prabhata Rashmi, the morning rays. The morning rays, as the sun rises, the whole world becomes full of golden light. Everything is illumined. It becomes luminous. So this morning rays, with the words of the Guru, the mind becomes luminous, pure, sublime. Now he is talking about our expressions, maybe our talk, our behavior. Now the manner in which you express yourself has also to be thoroughly spiritualized. Your words and actions, the way you speak, sit and get up, the way you walk and prostrate, indicate the mental makeup and purity. That is why we ask you to maintain cleanliness in all daily habits. So what is this? In all words and actions, in the way you speak, sit and get up, that is everything. Every little thing that we do, whether it is the thought, whether how we are talking, how we are expressing ourselves through speech, how we are sitting, walking, eating, everything. The manner in which you speak, sit and get up, the way you walk and prostrate, indicate the mental makeup and purity. And that also, every day we are doing pranam. How are we doing? If we are attentive, we will find most of the days the mind is not in the pranam. It just becomes an act. Should it be like this? How we do the pranam? Offering completely. Saying that, let anything come, I accept. Let anything go, I accept. All my good and bad, I keep at your feet. Whether we are doing pranam at a deity or an idol or guru, this should be our attitude every day. Humility should be there. Humbleness should be there. The mind should melt with divinity, devotion. It should be a melting feeling. Every one of us has to analyze, assess and see whether we are doing it every day or not. whether we understand prostration to be that or not, or it is just an act done as a routine to get some blessing. The more you spiritualize your behavior and you are attentive to disciplining every facet of your life and activities, the more sublimity you will feel. All of you practice dhyana. What is this dhyana for? Don't think that dhyana is always for samadhi or self-absorption. What is dhyana? Meditation. So Swamiji says, the more you spiritualize your behavior means everything. A small act to a big act. A small thought to a big thought. A little bit of talk or a silence. Or too much of talk. Everything associated with oneself has to become spiritual. We have to be attentive. That is why a seeker has to be attentive. Pramada will not do. Attention. In all the Upanishads you see, attention has been said. And Swamiji says, as much as you become attentive and you discipline every facet of your life and activities, the more sublimity you will feel. Then he comes to meditation. He says, all of you are practicing meditation. What is this meditation for? Don't think that meditation is always for attaining samadhi or self-absorption. Absorption may be one aspect of it. What about the life before and after absorption? We sit for meditation, we want to become absorbed. Maybe we get absorbed also. What about before that, when we did not get absorbed? That is, before we sat for meditation. What about when we get up from meditation? Everything has to be spiritual. What about the life before and after absorption? Dhyana is an inward focusing of mind to understand the defects and deficiencies of our system and thereby to bring about purity. I'll read this again. Dhyana or meditation is an inward focusing of the mind to understand the defects and deficiencies of our system and thereby to bring about purity. When you sit closing your eyes, looking into the mind, you will come to know the thought pattern in you. We really come to know. We see how the mind grows from here to there, there to there. Thinks of so many things which we have not thought about for days. When we sit for dhyana, all those come in. So, you will come to know the thought pattern in you. You will understand your mind, discover its various hidden tendencies. The thoughts will come and stand before you like your own reflection in a mirror. How beautifully said. The thoughts will come and stand before you like your own reflection in a mirror. If you do not like them, if they are not favorable, then the very discovery of their nature will begin the process of eliminating them or sublimating them. My dear children, so beautifully explained. When we sit, it is definitely for the samadhi or the absorption. But when we sit, so many thoughts come. We have to be attentive to them. We come to know what are our thought processes. Many of them we do not like. And as soon as we do not like, how will we not like? Only when we are attentive and we are straightforward and we are true to ourselves. We find that there are so many thoughts which are really not good. And as soon as we admit that they are not good, we'll try to eliminate them. And what are we doing actually? As soon as we try to eliminate them, we are making the mind calm, restful, helping the process of absorption. Helping the process of absorption. So when there are lots of thoughts coming, people say, oh, so many thoughts came, so I get up. Today meditation is not happening, so many thoughts are coming, it's disturbing me, so get up and do something else. We should not do that. Let it be. Understand what are those thoughts. Understand what are the hidden tendencies. And since you do not like them, try to remove them. By that you are helping the process of making the mind calm and restful. And the mind becomes ready for absorption. As much as we do this, so much easier will be absorption. But one has to be. So Swamiji is saying that if they are not favorable, then the very discovery of their nature will begin. The very discovery of their nature will begin the process of eliminating and sublimating them. But one has to be earnest and straightforward in this regard. These are very important. What does it say? What is Swamiji saying? Please understand. Very, very important. If you have to do your sadhana, these are very, very important. As it is important to read the Shastras, these are actually the practical guidance taken from the Shastras. Attention. What is that? When we sit for a meditation, so many thoughts are coming, disturbing us, but in being attentive to them, we come to know our tendencies, our defects, our deficiencies. We come to know which are the effects of Rajoguna, which are Tamoguna. Actually, we don't try to mark them as Rajoguna and Tamoguna at that time. Definitely not. By reading the Shastras, we will come to know this is the effect of Rajoguna and this is Tamoguna. But what is happening is distraction, disturbance, agitation. Because of what? Because of certain defects and deficiencies or traits of the being, the nature of mind. And since we don't like them, we will remove them. But one has to be earnest and straightforward in this regard. Mark these words. Earnest and straightforward. Earnest what? One must have dridha nischayaha. These are words from Bhagavad Gita. Dridha nischayaha. That is this absolutely firm resolution that if I find some defect in me, I will try to sublimate and remove it. That one promise to oneself that I do not like this. This trait of mine is not good for my sadhana. So maybe not in one day, within few days I will be removing them. I will remove them. That dridha nischayaha. And straightforwardness, arjavam, arjavam. These are all words from Bhagavad Gita. What is arjavam? Straightforward, straightforwardness. Only when we have arjavam, we will be able to accept that I have this defect. Otherwise, I will see, but I will not believe that this is there in me, lurking in me. Because everybody feels that I am very good, I am very pure. A seeker should always try to see what is impure in him so that it can be removed. Whatever is pure is pure. He should strive to have more and more purity. But if there is some impurity, one should admit and remove it. As you progress in your sadhana, the disciplines become more and more inward and subtle, until at last the mind becomes one with purity. mind becomes one with purity. It happens. As you love that sublimity, the purity, initially you are finding that there are many traits. Maybe very easily you become a little grumbling type, irritated type. Very easily you become very depressed. Very easily you start blaming others. All these traits are there. Or very easily you become lethargic, procrastinating, dull, don't want to do anything. All these traits are there. But if we have this dridha nischayatva, and if you are straightforward to admit, oh, these are there, these are not good for my sadhana, so let me remove them. Having that faith and resolve. And what will happen? As we remove them, purity will dawn. As we remove them, sublimity will dawn. Expansion of mind will take place. And there will be more and more feeling of sublimity. As you progress in your sadhana, the disciplines become more and more inward and subtle, until at last the mind becomes one with purity. Until at last the mind becomes fully pure. It is purity and purity alone. Nothing else is there. When the ego is dissolved, when the kartru bhoktru bhava, doership and enjoyership is lost, everything proceeding from the mind will become pure. When the ego is dissolved, when does the ego get dissolved? When all desires fall. And when the I am doing that feeling, that I-ness and mindness, that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, that I feeling goes away, ego goes away, then everything proceeds from the mind, everything proceeding from the mind will become pure. Then Swamiji chants one shloka from Apurokshanubhuti. Suvarna jayamanasya suvarnatvam cha shashvatam brahmano jayamanasya brahmatvam cha tatha bhavet. Suvarna jayamanasya suvarnatvam cha shashvatam brahmano jayamanasya brahmatvam cha tatha bhavet. The ultimate, it says, as anything made of gold, suvarna jayamanasya suvarnatvam cha shashvatam. That is, anything made of gold has the nature of gold alone. Whether I have made a bangle or an earring or a necklace or a bracelet, whatever has been made of gold, its basic material is gold. So also, anything proceeding from Brahman must be of the nature of Brahman alone. So from Brahman, all this plurality has come. So, in a sense, everything is Brahman and Brahman alone. The ultimate discipline of the seer is to see everything as rooted in Brahman. The ultimate discipline, Swamiji was talking about discipline. What is the discipline? We start with what? With discipline and sublimate what? Our senses and whatever we are doing. So whatever through eyes we are seeing, through the nose we are smelling, then all the senses, whatever it is doing, and sitting, walking, eating, lying, talking, whatever we are doing, even prostrating, Swamiji has said. He has listed one by one everything. So initially it is food, then the senses, he has talked about the food, then he has talked about the behavior, and he says, have a discipline to spiritualize everything. That is the discipline. The discipline is not that you have to, for half an hour you have to do this, or for half an hour, 1 hour you have to do that. It's not like that. Every moment your discipline is to make everything spiritual. And if you do so, what will happen? The ultimate discipline of the seer is to see everything rooted in Brahman. And if we do such things, all this sublimation will take us to what? Take us to the self, because all agitations will go. Mind has become restful. The self alone will be revealed, and the Brahman alone. So the ultimate discipline of the seer is to see everything as rooted in Brahman. To see everything as, in essence, it is Brahman. You know, the shloka where it says, in Vivek Chudamani, I have done this shloka, Brahma pratyaya santatir jagadato brahmaiva tat sarvataha. So, when everything, just like a person who has eyes, will see only names and forms, only see the rupas, that the form. Similarly, a person who has experienced or realized Brahman will find in everything only Brahman. So, his buddhi constantly dwells on the fundamental oneness underlying all plurality. So, in all plurality, this sadhaka, the seeker, will find only Brahman. In all the plurality that one sees in the world, everything is different. In our eyes, in our perceptions, everything is different. But that underlying there is only one, which is Brahman, will be understood. How can anything non-spiritual come from him? Such wholesome spiritualization can be accomplished by living in the proximity of saints or Guru. This wholesome spiritualization, Swamiji is saying, is easily accomplished when one is in the Guru Sannidhi, in the proximity of the Guru. In Guru Sannidhi, the whole atmosphere is spiritual. Whatever is done in the ashram is an extension of spirituality. Don't think that Guru Seva means doing only some personal service to the Guru. Any work related to the ashram is Guru Seva, a service primarily meant to purify the seeker. It may be cleaning vessels, fixing stamps, going to the town for bringing the required items, or any other activity you are asked to do either by me or the ashramites. So, in Guru Sannidhi, because the Guru constantly will say these things, and the whole ashram, the atmosphere is spiritual, it is very easily understood. But what will you do when you are in the household, as most of you are there? All of you, while I am reading this, must be thinking, oh, we are not in Guru Sannidhi, so how will we attain this? Yes, you can. You can. You should think that everything is laden by God. Everything is God. Everywhere, every moment, in everything, every bhava, every action. I am God's, and there is nothing but God. This awareness has to be kept alive. In Guru Sannidhi, what happens? Because the atmosphere is charged with that feeling, it becomes easy. But when one is not in Guru Sannidhi, but in the worldly life, reminding oneself constantly that I am God's, or I am Brahman's, I am the self, everything is nothing but the self, nothing but Brahman, there is only oneness. This reminder, even if you are acting, you are in activity, you have to stop for a while and remind yourself. Remind yourself. So, in this Swamiji has said how we divinize every moment. And then he speaks of this purity. He has spoken of purity. So what is this purity? He says, what is this purity? How can one judge whether he is becoming pure or not? Who will tell us these things? How can we judge? We are only listening and reading that we have to become pure. What do we have? How do we become pure? See, this is what Swamiji has explained. What is this purity? How can one judge whether he is becoming pure or not? First, purification means reduction and extinction of desires. The desires may be secular, worldly, or they may be spiritual, otherworldly. The desires can be many things. It can be worldly desire. Worldly desire everybody has. Desire for family, desire for children, desire for wealth and property, desire for fame and recognition, desire for health, everything. And it may be spiritual also, that I'll become a very great seeker, a very good sadhaka, should learn so many shastras, I should be able to speak very well, I should have many followers. So many things can happen, even in spirituality. I should be the best among all the disciples. So spiritual desires may be there. The desires may be secular, worldly, or they may be spiritual or otherworldly. In Vedanta, Vairagya is defined clearly as Iha Amutra Phala Bhoga Viragaha, disinterestedness towards enjoyment of pleasures or rewards in this world as well as in the other world. So, in Vedanta we know this, Viveka and Vairagya, we have done it many times and we all know. So, disinterestedness towards enjoyment of pleasures or rewards in this world as well as in the other world. So, what is it? Purification means extinction of desires. Desires can be worldly as well as spiritual. Desire is desire. Whether you are a spiritual person or a worldly person, desire is desire. That has to be dropped. And unless we drop it, purity will not come. So the secular as well as the spiritual desires will have to fall completely. Even the spiritual desires that I would, so many, even for I will do this austerity, or I will read so much, I will every day chant so many chapters of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, and feeling that I have done it, that ego, that I-ness, that I have done it. All these are desires. Slowly this should fall. You may still do it, but not with that desire. Not with the feeling that I have done it, or I know it, or I am like this. I am a great spiritual person. So, all this should fall completely. A mind which does not strive to eliminate desires cannot be considered as pursuing purity. What? A mind which does not strive to eliminate desires cannot be considered as pursuing purity. So what, my dear children? Time is also up. Remember this. Very, very important. We have to pursue purity because we want to progress in spirituality. We will not be able to realize the self unless the mind is pure and calm and absolutely tranquil. When there is no agitation, no disturbance, how will that happen? How will that purity come? When desires fall. The desires only bring about disturbances and distractions, agitations. So desires have to fall. If a mind does not strive to eliminate desires, cannot be considered as pursuing purity. So, unless one with dridha nischayatva, with great resolve, feel and strive to remove all the desires, first of all, how will they be removed? We have to be attentive. Another quality, attention has to be cultivated. Be attentive to the desires, small desire or big desire. Big desires like I must have so much money, so much bank balance, so much of fame, I must have so many houses, so many cars, gadgets, all these big desires. I should travel all over the world. I must have a lot of luxury and comfort. Big desires. Small desires, but very subtle desires. Everybody should like me. Everybody should love me. Nobody should say harsh words to me. All these are desires. Everybody should be praising me, my work. All these are desires. So whether small, subtle, big and voluminous, every desire has to be first be attentive, find out, see that it is there, admit that it is there, and then strive to remove them. Then only it will be considered that we are pursuing purity, otherwise not. Keeping desires in one hand and thinking that I am a great spiritual pursuit or great spiritual speaker, feeling that, oh, I have understood all, I have understood the self, I have understood Brahman, I am able to meditate and be absorbed for a long time, will not do. Desires have to fall. Yada sarve pramuchyante kama yesya hridishritaha athamartyo amrito bhavati atra brahma samashnute. In Kathopanishad, yada sarve pramuchyante kama yesya hridishritaha. In the heart, the desires that are there in the heart, when all those desires are removed, rejected, renounced, pramuchyante, they are rejected, thrown off. Athamartyo amrito bhavati. Then only man who considers himself mortal will become immortal by realizing the self, by uniting with the self, by realizing that I am the immortal self. The same man who feels that I am mortal will become immortal. Atra Brahma samashnute. And he will become the Brahman. So desire has to fall. So this is purity. One must pursue this purity, path of purity, and this path of purity, my dear children, every day it has to be done. Every day has to be done. I again come back, see, I think these will never leave me. I started reading Prabhati Rashmi thinking that I will do the Sattva Guna and other things later. But see, again come back to the same thing. Qualities, the pure qualities, the sattvic qualities, which every seeker has to cultivate. There is no other way out, because these are the qualities of the self. If we have to realize the self, we cannot have duplicity. Keeping non-self qualities, trying to realize the self will not do. Okay. I think this is interesting, and we can also, I would like to read some more things that are very, very good for sadhana. See this sloka also, which I chant every day at the end. Sampurnam jagadeva nandanavanam sarvepi kalpadrumaha gangam vari samastavari nivahaha punyas samastah kriyaha vachah prakrita samskrita shrutishiro varanasi medini sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishte parabrahmani. When the Parabrahman is realized, then as Swamiji is explaining here, that when a gold ornament is made, whether it is a bangle or earring or bracelet or armlet, anything, it is made of gold. The essence is gold. Similarly, everything is Brahman, because the Brahman only expresses itself as many. The one becomes many. So here also in this shloka, I am not going to chant. I am just telling you the shloka. Sampurnam jagadeva nandana vanam sarvepi kalpadrumaha gangam vari samastavari nivahaha punya samasta kriyaha vacha prakrita samskritaha shrutishiro varanasi medini sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishte parabrahmani. Drishte parabrahmani. When Parabrahman is realized, then Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam. The whole world becomes the heavenly garden. That is, the whole world is not like a garden. There are many places which are not very beautiful. It may be full of pits, full of thorns, full of mountains, so many difficult terrains may be there. But when one realizes Brahman, the differentiation goes. Wherever you are in Brahman. So Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam. It becomes as if it is the heavenly garden. Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha. Everything is as if they are the wish-fulfilling trees. Everything is Kalpadruma. That is the tree of the heaven which fulfills all wishes. Gangam vari samastavari nivahaha. Any water will feel like holy water. Everything, that the differences will not be there. Holy water. Punyaha samastah kriyaha. Every activity will be punya karma, virtuous acts. Vacha prakrita samskritaha. Whether you are talking something rude and harsh and maybe abusive, or you are talking something from the scriptures. Everything is Shruti Shiraha. It's all scriptural, all auspicious. Varanasi Medini. And wherever you are, it is Varanasi. You don't have to go particularly to Varanasi to feel that you have come to a holy spot. The whole world, the whole universe, because it is the Brahman alone. You cannot see anything but Brahman. So everything becomes auspicious, divine, full of luminosity, full of purity, full of sublimity. Everything is devotional and divine. Sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishte parabrahmani. For that person who has realized Brahman, for him all the avasthiti, all situations, in whichever way he is, wherever he is, in whichever situation he is, whichever place he is, everything becomes Brahman and Brahman alone. This should be our aim. This should be our aim, and it is our aim. And how will we fulfill that aim? Through every act, through every thought, through every interaction, whether good and bad, whether you like it or not like it. If you don't like somebody, you cannot think that it is not Brahman. You have to think that no, this is Brahman. If somebody abuses you, okay, you get hurt, you may be angry, but think later that, oh, unnecessarily I got affected. This also is Brahman. This is how we have to remind. There is any other way? Can you tell? Is there any other way? Okay, Jai Guru.